The studio lights were very bright. They made my eyes hurt. Everything on the stage looked shiny and perfect, like a dream that wasn't real. I sat on a soft chair. The floor was clean and glossy. Behind us, a big screen showed our names in gold letters. People were clapping. Cameras were pointing at us. And next to me sat my wife. She looked beautiful. Everyone thought she was perfect. She was wearing a white dress that reflected the lights. Her hair was perfect. Her smile was calm and confident. She leaned closer to me and whispered softly, "Don't embarrass me." Her voice was gentle, but the words hurt. Not, "I'm nervous." Not, "We will be okay." Just, "Don't embarrass me." I nodded slightly. I didn't know what else to do. The host smiled at the camera. "Welcome back. Tonight we have a very special couple with us." The audience clapped louder. My wife waved. She looked like she belonged here. I felt like I didn't. The host turned toward me. "How does it feel being married to someone this famous?" A red light on the camera turned on. That meant millions of people were watching. I swallowed. "It's different," I said. The audience laughed softly. My wife nodded like that was the right answer. The host smiled. "Different how?" I paused. Different because she changed. Different because she stopped talking to me like before. Different because I felt alone even when she was next to me. But I didn't say that. "It takes getting used to," I said instead. The host nodded. "And what did you do before she became famous?" "I was a carpenter," I said. "I built furniture, houses sometimes." There was a small silence. Not rude, not loud. Just a quiet pause. Some people in the audience whispered. My wife's smile tightened just a little. The host recovered quickly. "That's honest work." I nodded. "Yes." The host turned to her. "And how did you feel about marrying someone outside the celebrity world?" She laughed lightly. "Love doesn't care about jobs." The audience clapped. She looked perfect. But I noticed something. She didn't look at me when she said it. The host continued. "People online say you changed after fame. Is that true?" She laughed again. "People online say everything." The audience laughed with her. Then the host turned back to me. "And you? Did she change?" My heart started beating faster. This was the moment. I could lie, or I could tell the truth. I felt her foot lightly touch mine under the chair. A warning. I smiled weakly. "Everyone changes?" I said. The audience murmured. The host leaned forward. "That sounds like a story." I hesitated. "She became busy, very busy." My wife's smile froze for half a second. "She works hard," she said quickly. "Yes," I said. "She does." The host raised his eyebrows. "And what about you? What do you do now?" "I manage our house," I said. "Travel with her sometimes." Some people laughed softly, not mean, but not kind either. My cheeks felt warm. The host didn't laugh. He just nodded. "That's a big change." "Yes," I said. My wife crossed her legs and adjusted her dress. The host smiled gently. "People admire you both, but behind the scenes is often different." The room felt quieter. The air felt heavier. My wife leaned in again and whispered, "Please don't." Her eyes stayed on the camera. I looked at her face. She wasn't scared. She was worried about how she looked, not how I felt. The host noticed the tension. "Everything okay?" "Yes," she said fast. "Just emotional." The audience made a soft awe sound. I almost laughed. Emotional. That was a nice word for it. I took a breath, and for the first time that night, I decided I wasn't going to protect her image anymore, not at the cost of my truth. I looked at the host. "I think people should know," I said quietly. My wife turned to me, her eyes wide. The audience leaned forward. The camera zoomed in. And that was the moment everything started to break. I took a slow breath before speaking again. My hands were cold, but my heart was loud. I could feel my wife staring at me, her body stiff, her smile completely gone now. The audience was quiet. The host waited without interrupting me. "People think fame is beautiful," I said softly, "and maybe it is, but it changes how people look at you. It changes how they treat you." My voice wasn't angry. It was calm, and somehow that made the room even more tense. My wife laughed nervously. "You're making it sound dramatic," she said, trying to smile again. A few people in the audience laughed with her, but it was weak laughter, unsure. I looked at her, really looked at her. "I'm not trying to be dramatic," I said. "I'm trying to be honest." The host leaned forward slightly, interested now. "Honest about what?" he asked. I hesitated for a moment, then said, "About how lonely it feels to be married to someone who is always somewhere else." The audience made a small sound, like a breath, all at once. My wife turned her face toward me fully now. "That's not fair," she said quietly. "You know how busy I am." I nodded. "I do. But busy is different from absent." The host glanced between us. "Absent how?" he asked. I swallowed. She stopped talking to me about her fears, about her worries. She only talks to me about schedules now, flights, meetings, cameras. My wife shook her head. "That's not true." "It is," I said gently. "You don't ask me how I feel anymore." The room felt heavy. Even the cameras seemed quieter somehow. My wife's eyes filled with tears, but they didn't fall. "You're doing this here?" she whispered. "On TV?" I met her eyes. "You told me not to embarrass you," I said. "You didn't tell me not to be honest." The audience reacted softly. Some people nodded. Some looked uncomfortable. The host spoke carefully now. "This feels like something very personal." "It is," I said. "But it's also something many people feel." I looked at the audience. People lose each other when life gets loud. My wife looked down at her hands. "I never meant to hurt you," she said. Her voice was small now. "I just wanted us to survive this." I nodded. "I wanted that too." There was a pause, a long one. No one spoke. Then the host asked quietly, "Do you still love each other?" The question hung in the air like smoke. My wife looked at me, not at the camera, not at the audience, at me. Her eyes were wet now. "Of course I do," she said. I felt something twist inside my chest. I wanted to believe her. I really did. "I love you too," I said. "But love isn't enough if we don't see each other anymore." The audience reacted again, this time louder. A mix of sadness and surprise. The host nodded slowly. "That's a powerful thing to say." I wasn't trying to be powerful. I was just tired. My wife wiped her eyes quickly. "I didn't know you felt this bad," she said. "You never told me." I looked at her. "I tried." "When?" she asked. "At dinner," I said. "In the car, in the hotel rooms. You were always on your phone." She closed her eyes. The host cleared his throat softly. "What happens now?" he asked. I shrugged slightly. "I don't know," I said. "But pretending everything is perfect isn't working anymore." My wife nodded slowly. "I don't want to lose you," she said. Her voice was honest now. The audience was completely silent. Even the host looked emotional. I nodded. "Then don't," I said. She reached out and touched my hand. It was the first time she had done that all night, and for a moment, the world felt quieter. But I knew something else too. This conversation wasn't going to stay on this stage. It was going to follow us everywhere. The moment the cameras stopped, everything felt different. The lights were still on, but the warmth was gone. The audience started talking at once, a low, heavy sound filling the room. Some people stood up, some whispered, some pointed their phones at us. A producer walked over and said softly that we were going to a break. The host thanked everyone with a practiced smile, but his eyes were serious. My wife stood up quickly, her hand leaving mine, and she walked off the stage without looking back. I followed her. Backstage felt narrow and gray compared to the bright studio. Cables covered the floor and people rushed past with headsets and papers. She stopped near a dressing room door and turned toward me. Her face was tight. "What was that?" she asked. I told her it was the truth. She said I had humiliated her. I told her I had only talked about how I felt. She said I should have waited. I told her I had been waiting for years. She crossed her arms and said I made everything emotional. I told her that was because it was emotional. There was a long silence. Then she surprised me by saying she was scared. I asked her what she was scared of, and she said she was afraid of losing everything: her career, her image, and me. I told her I didn't care about her image, only about her. She laughed sadly and said the world didn't feel the same way. We stood there quietly until her phone started vibrating again and again. She looked at it and her face changed. She showed me the screen. Clips from the interview were already online with dramatic titles and fast-growing comments. Some blamed her, some blamed me, some made jokes, some took sides. She asked if this was what I wanted. I told her no, this was just what happened. She leaned against the wall and said she never wanted to hurt me. I told her I knew, but she did anyway. She said she hadn't seen it. I told her I understood. A manager came by and asked her for photos, but she refused. She looked at me and said she didn't know how to fix this. I told her to start by listening. She nodded and said she was listening. I told her to stay, not on stage, not in front of cameras, just with me when we were alone. She nodded again and said she would try. Then she surprised me by asking me to come home with her and not disappear. I agreed. She smiled slightly, not for the cameras or the world, just for me. But I knew it wasn't over, because the world had already entered our story, and once it does, it never really leaves. We went home together that night, but the world did not come with us. It stayed loud online. It stayed loud on television. It stayed loud in every phone screen and every headline. By the time we reached our apartment, the interview had already been watched millions of times. People were arguing in comment sections, making videos reacting to us, choosing sides like it was a game. Some called me brave, some called me bitter, some called her heartless, some called her a victim. No one called us human. She sat on the couch with her phone in her hand, scrolling without really seeing. I made tea that neither of us drank. The silence between us felt heavier than the noise outside. Finally, she said, "They hate me." I told her the internet doesn't hate people. It feeds on stories. Ours had become a story. The next morning, it was everywhere. Entertainment shows talked about us. Bloggers slowed down the clip of my face, her face, our hands, our pauses, like they were studying a crime. They guessed our thoughts, our feelings, our future. None of them asked us. She stopped going out for a few days. Her manager called constantly. Her publicist wanted a statement, an apology, a denial, a "we are stronger than ever" post. She didn't answer. One afternoon, she looked at me and said, "Do you regret it?" I thought about the stage, the lights, her whisper, my words. I thought about the years of silence. "No," I said. "I regret waiting so long." She nodded slowly. We started talking again after that, real talking, about fear, about anger, about how small I felt next to her fame, about how lonely she felt inside it. It wasn't easy. Sometimes we argued, sometimes we cried, sometimes we sat quietly, but we were finally in the same room emotionally, not just physically. The world didn't know that part. The world only saw headlines. After a week, she posted something simple online. No drama, no denial, just the truth. That marriages are complicated. That fame doesn't protect love. That honesty can hurt, but also heal. People reacted in every possible way. But the noise slowly became background sound instead of a storm. One evening, she stood on the balcony and watched the city lights. "I thought being chosen by the world was everything," she said. "But being chosen by one person who really sees you, that's different." I stood beside her and held her hand. We weren't perfect. We weren't fixed. But we were real again. And maybe that was the real revenge. Not destroying someone, but refusing to disappear. Refusing to be silent. Refusing to be small. And choosing truth even when it costs you comfort. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think I did the right thing by speaking up on that stage, or should some things stay private? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. And if you want more intense, emotional, real stories like this, make sure you subscribe to Cnell Roots of Revenge and stay with us for the next one.